Hello everybody, 'tis I, the Rumpled One, getting near the end of the road trip here. Just thought you might like to see some of this nice country. I just think about it, these people living out here on the land, maybe some are on the grid, some are off the grid, but that land could have been in their family for generations. If they don't pay the taxes, the sheriff comes, wants to take it away. Now, the funny thing is that the forefathers put in the Second Amendment, and they put that in so the people could defend themselves against abuses of the government. Now, do you think back then, if the government wanted to take their land, that there wouldn't be a firefight? Do you think the government would even consider taking somebody's land? That's kind of a stretch. I think you really got to stretch to get to that conclusion. So the question is, how'd this come to pass? Now, the other thing is, you see, if somebody were to put up a fight nowadays where the sheriff came a knocking and they said, I ain't leaving, this my property. You know, they'd bring out the SWAT team. There might be a firefight. And then when the news reported it, you know, it'd be reported that this, you know, some crackpot, you know, some guy that was, you know, an extremist, or possibly, I guess they call him now a domestic terrorist. You know, that this guy had the audacity to think that he could live on his land without paying taxes. I mean, when you frame it like that, hey, okay, here you go. There goes a load of toothpicks. That's a log truck. We call them toothpicks out here. Anyway, back to the story. Back to the point that, you know, how could anybody have the audacity to think that they could live on their land and not pay taxes? You see, once again, the government doesn't care about you, don't care about me. It cares about preservation of the government. That's all it cares about. Because that government needs taxes, and lots of them, because it likes to spend money. It likes to give themselves raises. And you see, the thing about the government is people. Where do these people come from? Maybe you live next door to one, or up the street, or across the street from one. They're just people. But you see, the government just wants to perpetuate itself, just because. Now, you know, they talk about jobs, and that, you know, we hear about, you know, the job loss, job creation. I've already done videos on jobs, but let me give you an idea about the government and the kind of jobs they create. Now, if you live in the city and you want to park your car, you just might have to put some money into a parking meter. Now, that parking meter was installed by the government, and they set the rate. Now, they're going to have to pay somebody to come collect the coins out of that meter. And if you happen to park your car at that meter and you don't pay, well, then they're going to ticket, fine you. It's going to cost you even more money. And in some places, they even have laws against good Samaritans. Like if somebody's walking down the street and sees your meter's going to run out in a minute or two, the law forbids them from putting an extra quarter in there on your behalf. Now, you can see what the government wants. They want money, lots of it. So, they create this parking meter and the parking meter reader job, or the meter maid, and now this person's on the government salary. But you see, you just can't have just one meter maid. You gotta have two, because, you know, one time people get sick and maybe, you know, it's more hours in a day than one person can work, so they're going to have to cover the early shift and the late shift. And then these people that are now government employees are going to get benefits. They might even want to, you know, have a union, a parking meter reader union, meter maid union. I know it sounds absurd, doesn't it? But see, when you break it down like that, it is absurd. So now you got this government job or jobs that they're going to exist forever. And it's going to probably cost the taxpayers about $50,000 a year from salary and benefits and training and all this other stuff. All because the government wants to make a couple quarters off you every day parking. Now, isn't that absurd? I mean, has the government ever produced a report that shows, here's how much it costs to install the parking meters. Here's how much it costs in overhead, parking meter parts and meter maid salaries and expenses. And then here's the revenue we collect. And not to mention, the revenue from fines. As you can see, it probably doesn't make sense. And if you live in a city that has parking meters, you might want to go down to your city council and demand an accounting of the parking meters to see if it's actually costing the taxpayers of the city or county money to have these parking meters. And you'll get a lot of resistance, but once again, you got to get involved. If you let them just do what they want to do and you don't question it, well, then you're part of the problem. You are the problem. So you got to get involved, people. It's a nice view out there, isn't it? Sometimes I hate talking politics, spoiling the nice view, but see, driving through the country, it gives you a little bit different perspective because you can see how these people are spread out. They got their little businesses. They probably have to have a business license to have that business. Forefathers didn't say anything about businesses having to be licensed. But it's all for your protection. Just like they want to reduce the size of your sugary drinks. Now, we've already had a couple videos on that, but it seems like it's staying in the news. Because I think I'm not the only one, or at least now I know I'm not the only one that sees just how absurd this is. Because we need to get the government out of our lives, not more involved. In fact, that should be the theme of this year's election, getting the government out of our lives, not more involved. I mean, we should send people to Washington, D.C. with the sole purpose of just eliminating a bunch of these laws and taxes and letting us be free and get this country back to the greatness, that it once was. Because while I've been driving, here's somebody having a yard sale at the church. I got more junk than I need. I should be putting stuff out. Anyway, back to the point. See, we need to get the country back to greatness, because I was thinking that what has this country done great in the 21st century? Now, we're talking 12 years, 13 years. Has the United States done anything great in the past 10, 11, 12 years? I mean, if anything, we've taken a step backwards. We pretty much, neutered NASA. The government agency that, supposedly, I'll put that in quotes, put a man on the moon. Some people still don't believe it. I don't know, I've seen moon rocks. It's raining, that's why you see the wipers going. I guess you could figure that out, I don't have to tell you that. So, but what has this country done great? I mean, Facebook. I mean, that's really not great. I mean, it really isn't. Social networking. I mean, thing is, with all this social connection, you go out in public, everybody's connected to the net, nobody's talking to each other. You don't get to meet people anymore. Have a nice casual conversation with a stranger, make a new friend. It doesn't work that way. People look at you funny. Can't you see I'm connected? Don't be talking to me. I don't know you. It's a whole different world now. But back to greatness. What have we done great? Have we built anything that's great? I can't think of anything. I mean, has there been any great inventions? I don't read Discovery magazine or Science magazine as often as I should. But maybe if somebody knows the answer, please make a video or just post a reply. I want to know what's great. I mean, these wars or police actions or whatever, you know, meddling in other nations' business that, you know, we're sending our troops overseas. I don't know if we can consider any of that great. I mean, it's no great victory, that's for sure. I mean, if we had any great medical breakthroughs lately, I mean, all this money going to different research, does anything great come of it? I mean, we as a country seem to be fatter, sicker, poorer. I mean, come on. I mean, we're less free. You know, they always want to talk about, you know, the soldiers going abroad, protecting our freedom. But, you know, when's the last time somebody has, you know, personally, you can say somebody other than our own government has, you know, impacted your freedom? I can't think of any instances, ever. Just something to think about. Because, you see, if you go up against the government, they've got the deck stacked against you. They got more people, bigger guns. See, it used to didn't be that way. See, we the people really were the government. If there was an invasion, you know, every able-bodied man got his musket and he went out there on the front lines to defend the country and his land. But you see, now we don't. It's not like that. See, we got a bunch of stuffed shirts sitting in Washington, D.C., sending other people's kids over there to do, you know, in the name of what? Freedom? I don't think so. I mean, freedom, you got to show your papers every time you want to travel on a bus, plane, or boat. I mean, just like Nazi Germany. You know, that's why they don't show those World War II movies on TV much anymore, because they don't want people seeing the similarities. I know that might sound crazy, but I remember growing up watching them World War II movies and them Nazis walking up and down the train, show me your papers. Now, you might think I'm being a hypocrite saying, well, you say you want to have people show your papers when you vote. What's the difference? Well, I mean, let's think about it. You want somebody who's not a citizen voting? You know, that's kind of an apples and oranges comparison there. But free travel within the states, United States of America, I want to get on a plane and fly from New York to LA and I got to show my papers? You know, what kind of foolishness is that? Oh, that's for my protection. Oh, okay, that's why you're searching, you know, little old ladies, but, you know, some guy, you know, in a turban or something, you don't search him? I don't know. It's just like, you say, oh, we don't want to do profiling or violate somebody's civil rights. Well, are they citizens? Number one. I mean, you know, animals are smart. They know, they look, they use smell, they use sight. They know where to find their food. You know, they know where they're, how to, you know, avoid their enemy. They know what to look for. Why is it, you know, that we're supposed to be the intelligent species? We do everything, you know, bass-ackwards. It just don't make any sense. I mean, you know, down there in Arizona, they're still talking about SB 1070 and, you know, how that Sheriff Joe is profiling. Well, let me think. What do most of the people crossing the border illegally look like? Huh. So, how is that profiling or violating somebody's civil rights? I mean, if you're here legally, you got papers to prove it. It's no big deal. Whether you're a citizen or not. If you're not a citizen and you came here legally, you're supposed to have those papers on your person 24 hours a day. I don't care if you're just going down to the store to buy a oversized sugary drink. The law says if you're in here on a visa or a green card, you're supposed to have that ID on you 24/7. So if Sheriff Joe or anybody else stops somebody who they think might not be here legally, and those people don't have papers, and they are here legally, well, they just broke the law. And if they're not here legally, they should be shipped back. It's just that simple. You know, once again, driving, you know, across this country called America, it just, to me, it's simple. We got to get leaner and meaner. We got to cut out the waste, cut out the fat, and use some common sense and get our country back to greatness. Well, it's raining. I should probably keep both hands on the wheel here instead of operating the camera. So America, wake up, smell a pie.